Happy almost Valentine's Day, bitches. Unless you hate Valentine's Day, then boo, love sucks. Let me know. Are you a hater? Are you a lover? We got some words from the book. Gossip or game plan? That's the question. It can be both because when something's gossip, it really just means that it's chat. And things that are speculative can fall under the realm of gossip, but if they're confirmed to be true in one way or another, then it's game plan. So it can be both. It can be gossip or it can be game plan. You know, a lot of things that start out as gossip, especially in the UFC, ultimately turn to game plan. So grab your coffee, grab your tea. We're gonna get into the latest scoops of the UFC. Wait. Hold on. Grab your coffee, grab your tea. Let's get into the latest scoops of the UFC. That's not even... I'm out here like I'm acting like I'm Shakespeare. That was literally nothing. Whatever. Okay. I made a comment 2 weeks ago or something like that about how, oh, we can't judge Yuri on his style because Never Back Down is the movie where he gets his inspiration from. Well, guess who else gets their inspiration from Never Back Down?
And then one last one from me. Did the movie Never Back Down inspire you to take up MMA?
Yes, that is 100% true.
Should we add, like, Never Back Down to essential fight viewing to, like, understand the psychology of fight? Or just to understand the psychology of the UFC? Like, how many people in the UFC are inspired by Never Back Down? Because the list is growing. Who else? It's essential viewing. First, middleweight madness. I chose this cat because it looks like my cat Jimmy. But more middleweight madness. I just figured we'd start there on middleweight news. So, what do you guys think of this matchup between Caio Borralho and Nasruddin Imavov? Because we got the call out. Okay. He is a sweetie also. Caio, if you don't know about him, he studied chemistry. His UFC debut was relatively recently in 2023, and he hasn't lost since. He's doing really good. He hasn't actually lost since 2015. So, Caio Borralho, if you don't know who he is, I'm sure you do, but free spirit, look out for him. He's got some important wins over Cannonier, Paul Craig. Performance of the night, most recently, actually. So, he's pretty cool. What do you guys think of Caio? I thought this was really interesting. That Sean made his way into like an actual news article in this way. Just thought this was funny. Obviously we know how the fight went. There was no knockout, but I just thought this was funny and just more middleweight drama, more middleweight madness, making your way onto the cover of a newspaper for not even committing a crime. Very good. Okay, last middleweight madness is just some ranking updates, just some spillover from 2 weeks ago. What do we think about this? Hamzat's number 3 now. Okay. That means Izzy's number 4. And just some other things. Shara Bullet he went from top 15 to out. And I think he's like somewhere like number 18. So, and what do we think? I also wanted to include Shara Bullet's excuses, saying that he had some nightmarish health conditions. But what do you guys think? Excuse? So, middleweight madness continues. What more? Wah, wah. This isn't good news, but it could be in the future. What do you all know about this $375 million UFC antitrust settlement that finally got some approval? Okay, so 11 years in the making, right? And what the UFC is basically in trouble for is creating a monopsony. So that sounds a lot like monopoly, and there's a reason for that. So a monopoly is basically when there's one seller, okay, simple enough, and a monopsony is just flip that, so there's one buyer. So in this case, the single buyer, UFC, or really the parent company, TKO, I mean, reasonably, nobody can compete with the UFC, and we've seen that, especially now that Bellator is gone. Whoa, even more. So you have a monopsony, you have a single buyer, and this has been going on for a long time with building this case. And so basically the UFC is being accused of some anti-competitive practices, but this being a settlement means that it's an agreement reached on both sides. So originally the figure was actually a bit lower, but they're getting a couple more millions out of the UFC. So what do you guys think about the monopsony? Okay, can anybody compete with the UFC? GFL, anyone? We'll see. Yeah, so okay, sorry, it's dry. It's dry, but it's important. It's important. There's a lot of fighters who are involved in this. Anybody fighting between or from 2011 to 2017, I think is the first wave. There's going to be even a second wave. So this is the first settlement. Sketchy. Okay. Want to give a shout out to Joaquin Buckley. You know him, I'm sure, but if you don't know him, get with it. Joaquin is a lot of people's 2024 Fighter of the Year, in the contention for mine as well. I mean, he fought and won a shit ton. He is a really interesting guy as well, though, so you should really check out his YouTube channel. And more importantly, okay, not more importantly, but also, I guess more fresh and new, check out his podcast, okay? The Brick Brothers. And they're on the come up. Only 500 subscribers, so let's get in there. Joaquin Buckley is just such a cool guy, and he's got some really amazing insight and just mind of a fighter and just, yeah, of a true competitor. So a great man, great insight, and I just stumbled upon his YouTube channel and stumbled upon his podcast with his brother. Super, 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 super cool. So check him out. Check it out. All right. Goofy stuff. So, again, I know, okay, it's late. This is 2 weeks old at this point, but if you noticed when 2 weeks ago when Michael Page was coming out to fight, he didn't come with a flag. Like, he wasn't fighting out of anywhere, not carrying any flag, nothing like that. It had, like, the little gray flagless banner, you know what they do? And he was asked about that. I love this man. He was asked about that, and his response is, "We are one race, the human race. Peace and love." So we got the peace dove. He's a force for good. He might be a quirky son of a bee, but he is a force for good. Love it. Love to see his quirk. He's quirky. Okay. That's, I guess, how this is going. We're going good news, then we're going bad news. So I'm sure you heard they did a little bit of an announcement at UFC 312 as well. Dominic Cruz is officially retired. We were supposed to see him fight against Rob Font in 2 weeks, but another injury. Oh. And if you know the story of Dominic Cruz, you know that he has faced a fair number of adversity in the face of injury. That sounded weird. And unfortunately, injured again, and we don't get to see that retirement fight. If only I would have known that the last time he was going to be out there, that Marlon Vera. If only. It's okay. Absolute legend. Dominic Cruz deserves a video of his own, and that's why I'm going to do that. Not that you asked. He is such an amazing guy. He's a bit sassy, oftentimes not so classy, but a genius and a legend and unique. Dominic Cruz is truly unique. He is one of the last of his generation that is still competing. And it's crazy to see time go by. Yeah, it's really sad. It's really sad to move on, but you know, this is how it is. And he, two-time champ, I can't wait to just see more of him on the analyst side. Dominic Cruz is my favorite analyst for sure. He is just so sassy and so right oftentimes. I mean, nobody's perfect, but I like the way that he asserts his opinion, and I like how connected I feel that he is to the fighters. I feel like he really sees them as his fellow human beings. I think as fans, sometimes we forget that these are real people who are putting their lives on the line just for our entertainment. And, you know, Dominic Cruz, obviously, having been in there, but just especially, I think, because of who he is, he's reminded of that fact. He knows what it feels like for people to say, oh, it's done for you, and just not give a lot of compassion. He knows what that's like, and I just love it. I love that he still is a very fiery person, and he can say things that maybe aren't exactly so nice sometimes, but he has this high degree of compassion. He really does, for the fighters who are out there, and so he cares. When you care and when you know your shit, you can be a really powerful person, and that's exactly who Dominic Cruz is. He's a really powerful person, and if you haven't seen his Instagram post, I'm just going to go ahead and read out what he wrote. I think that it's just really good. So what he wrote is, "To the fans worldwide, I've poured every ounce of myself into this sport for the last 25 years. I was really hopeful for one final fight, but unfortunately, 2 shoulder dislocations in 8 months calls an end to this guy's career. I gave up everything I had and put it into preparation and training for this fight, focusing on my cardio and my body for the past year, but sometimes the body just doesn't cooperate. The pain isn't as bad now that my shoulder is back in place, but the second dislocation was far more complicated than the first. This sport has been everything to me. It's helped to shape who I am. Thank you to the UFC for building this platform and paving the way for fighters like myself and so many others. The UFC broke barriers to set the stage, not just for us fighters, also for every MMA sports organization that followed them across the bridge and created throughout politics in order to allow the sport to take place legally in the United States and now the world. I'm incredibly grateful to everyone who booked tickets, hotels, and flights to support me. Thank you all for being there through every moment, every victory, every challenge. You've made this journey unforgettable. Thank you for all the love and the support. I will carry it with me always. Love, Dominic." I could cry. I'm not gonna, but I could really cry. Oh, we love you, my man. Okay. And I was watching CSI Miami the other day. I don't know what episode. It was just on TV. And I saw this guy, and I just took a picture of him because I was like, Dominic? Dominic, you're an actor already? Oh my god. This is in like 2005. So tell me this guy does not look like this man. I don't know who he is, but he looks a lot like Dominic Cruz. The only difference is the widow's peak. Okay. Dustin Poirier at it again, being just so lovable and everyone's favorite fighter. So the Good Fight Foundation is his charity organization, my man. But here we have Helen Yee at the Sweat Flag football game in New Orleans. This is right before the Super Bowl, and we got some great Dustin insight. His Twitter was hacked, so most importantly, no, I'm just kidding. But that's crypto. I don't know. Yeah. So, but he did let us know, as many of you, I'm sure, caught wind of as well, that his retirement fight is set to happen in the summer. So it's not officially booked, but we know the UFC is pretty cool with Dustin. So expecting May, because that's when he said. And let's expect Louisiana. Let's expect New Orleans. So that would be really awesome. So let's keep our eyes out on May. Legends only. No Patty Pimblets, okay? Ew. Legends only. And let's give a shout out to Helen. She is an amazing reporter, and she has just such a lovely personality and just such an easy time connecting with so many different people. She is just an absolute legend for that. So that was really fun. That was a really fun video. Check out Helen's video with Dustin. Just so cool, so cool. Those are two just like, talk about role models. Oh, another thing too is Dustin, Helen asked him a really good question, which, like, who is his favorite person to watch fight right now? And his answer was Ilia Topuria, which I thought was really cool. And that got me thinking, who is my favorite fighter to watch? Brandon Moreno. Fucking love him. Okay. And in Brandon Moreno news, here we go. We're going to Mexico to face Steve Erceg. That's going to be really cool. So, if you don't know Steve, I'm sure you do, but if you don't know Steve, he's had, I think, about 6 fights in the UFC, but he's coming off of 2 losses. But it's really important who those 2 losses are to. We got a decision loss to Pantoja, and then a TKO loss to Kai Kara-France. So, we're in the top 5, right? And Moreno, Brandon Moreno, oh my god. Listen, if you haven't been in the Brandon Moreno like fight catalog, if you don't know, please watch. Okay. I don't know where to start with that, actually. Watch Brandon Moreno win the belt for Mexico for the first time, and watch that fight. Okay. Brandon Moreno is such a hero. Oh my gosh. And I love Steve. Or okay, I don't love Steve. I don't know him. I don't know either of these guys. Okay. Brandon Moreno is just so fun and so cool, and he has such an amazing fighting style. Like, he is guns blazing, and the cardio on that man, really can't wait to see it. So, and he's coming off of a split decision loss, 2 split decision losses, which just makes me want to pull my hair out, right? But he's just, that just shows you who Brandon Moreno is. Like, he is fighting tooth and nail. So, 2 split decision losses, 1 to Pantoja, and the other one to Brandon Royval. So both of these men right here are really trying to fight their way back into that top contention. Yeah, okay, you already heard about this too. We're late to the punch, but if you didn't hear, after the fight night, Imavov, Adesanya, and we had that kind of lackluster performance from Rosenstruck versus Sergey Pavlovich. Lackluster on both of their parts, let's be honest. They cut Rosenstruck from the roster. What the F? Talk BS alert. I know that he gave some weird excuses about paint fumes. I mean, Chael trusts it. If that means anything to you. But I think BS alert on the UFC for cutting him after UFC Saudi Arabia. What is going on? Book, help me. That's sad. That's so sad and annoying. I don't know. I think Rosenstruck is really great. I was excited to see him again, and I agree that it wasn't a great performance, but to just cut somebody in the top 10, like, I'm actually very confused. And his statement about it wasn't very illuminating either. What do you guys think? Does he deserve this? Back to the flyweights. Switcheroo! Oh my gosh. Seriously, Kape cannot catch a break. Like, since his 2021 debut, he's had 10 canceled fights, and a lot of it has nothing to do with him. Okay, so he was supposed to go against Royval. Royval's out. Azu Almabayev, number 8, is in. What do you think of that? We have any thoughts about that matchup? Switcheroos left and right with the UFC. We are just switching. Okay, switcheroo. Switcheroo again. So the Ultimate Fighter, but not the Ultimate Fighter, but basically the Ultimate Fighter, taking place in Russia, was supposed to be Jan versus Merab, or Jan versus Dvalishvili. Okay, Pyotr versus Merab, and last minute switcheroo, and now it's Aljamain Sterling. I mean, not that it doesn't. Okay, I know that doesn't not make sense, but what? So okay. Aljamain in Russia. So, we saw Weili absolutely dominate Tatiana Suarez this past weekend, and holy smokes, right? Weili is a dog. If you guys don't know, Tatiana Suarez was supposed to fight Virna Jandiroba at the end of this past year, and they scrapped that, okay, and then all of a sudden rebooked Tatiana to fight Weili, and they booked Virna Jandiroba to fight Yao Xiaonan. And Virna, as the very humble, very level-headed human being, was annoyed, as you should be, but calm, and apparently wasn't surprised by this. But it is a little fishy, right? That they just said, oh, I think we can get a little bit more drama if we push Tatiana up to title contention. Maybe Tatiana as well could have used this fight. I really like Virna Jandiroba. I think that she is a dog, and I want to see her make it to the championship belt, to challenge for that belt. So we're in the works. But isn't that a little bit sketch, guys, ladies, gents, and in betweens? Isn't that it's a little bit sketch? I feel like that they just left Virna hanging. I mean, they rebooked her against Yan Xiaonan, couple months down the road, but kind of sketch, because apparently they were just like, the fight's not happening, girl. Fight's not happening. And she's like, okay. Sketch. You know how it is, UFC. Last thing, super fun. I love Joanna Jędrzejczyk. She is such a cutie, okay? She's such a cutie. And she is a funny gal. Oh boy, is she. I wish that I spoke Polish. Bucket list, I guess. Because then I could have went on her freaking comedy tour. So if anybody knows how to speak Polish and has seen her stand up, let me know. Isn't that just so amazing, though? So she's retired, Hall of Famer. What has she been up to? She's been doing stand-up comedy. It is already one thing to face your fears in a cage, okay? It's another thing to face your fears in the vulnerable position of a stand-up comedian. I genuinely mean that. I know most people's biggest fear in life is public speaking, and public speaking in the form of stand-up comedy? Yeah. So I just want to applaud her for that. I have a feeling that she is actually really funny out there, though, because she is just such a charismatic person, and that is just very, very cool. So if you didn't know that Joanna Jędrzejczyk is a comedian now, well, now you do. And if you speak Polish, go on out there and let me know. Somebody help. That's our little pre-Valentine's Day scoopity scoop. That's our gossip or game plan. Right? Is it gossip? Is it game plan? It's both. Okay, so you know what? Like, this is a great example. So, Dustin being like, I'm going to fight in May, and that's my retirement fight, is gossip because it's not solidified in reality, but it's still the game plan. Like, we know that it's quite likely that it's going to happen. Okay? What may start as gossip can then turn to game plan. Okay.